If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. And if any of you need a lesson on how to burn money, this is a perfect example. And it's also a perfect example of the absolute embarrassment of humanity. The fact that they have socially engineered people into wanting to summon demons and spirits and pretty much wanting to be demonically possessed is becoming normal as we hear all these celebrities, singing about their altars, talking about themselves in third person. Beyonce having Sasha Fierce, Nicki Minaj having Roman. They all these alter different personalities that they trigger. They're demonically possessed, these people. But get a load of what's happening in, of course, in all places, Salem, Mass. The world's largest Ouija board. You heard that right. The world's largest Ouija board. You got enough free time if this is what you're doing on your weekends?
We've had the best time together at TBHS, and Rick and I and Callie and a few other people were just recently at Michigan Paragon. It was wonderful. We said hello to a lot of you guys, and I think a lot of you are going to be there at what's going on in October in Salem, Massachusetts. So let's talk about it, Kate and Rick. Let's tell them what's going on in Salem.
So in Salem, October 12th, we are going to invade the village with Ouija Zilla. It's gonna be the biggest thing anybody's ever seen. Right?
Check that out. I love it.
World's largest Ouija board. There is a world record for world's largest Ouija board, and I got it beat by probably about 2.5 times. I was on the phone with Robert Murch, our president, and I told him I had this idea one night that I wanted to paint a Ouija board on like a football field, and I wanted to put a planchette on my truck, and I wanted to put the truck in neutral and see if it would move. And he was like, why don't you go for it, man? And then there were these dudes, many years later, they painted one on a hotel roof.
That's right.
There's a haunted hotel outside of Philly, I believe, and they painted it on a roof. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I saw it said world's largest Ouija board, and I was like, well, it's a roof. It's not a Ouija board. So I'm going to try to make one that's a board out of wood. And, of course, they already set the bar pretty high because it was pretty damn big. Ouija Zilla, fingers crossed, will be in the Ripley's Believe It or Not book.
So let's all give them good kudos for that. We're going to all put our positive thoughts together in prayers that happens. So you guys, this is, seriously, you're going to be there with what's happening in history. This is it. I don't foresee, and knowing what Rick put into this and what it takes to make what he did, anybody ever being able to top this. And if they try to, he would just top it again. Trust me on that.
Now, this guy actually even talks on his Facebook channel. I guess there's a Facebook or page for this organization that they're involved in. And he talks about how, maybe we'll summon the world's, largest spirit. And, it's all hokey for people. It's all tongue in cheek. They're like, so cool. And some people are just, look, to be able to build something like that. I mean, imagine like the use that this guy could do to the world if he's building this thing. He could have probably helped somebody fix a home with all that wood, but no. And look, who am I to tell people what to do and how to live their lives? But I'll tell you one thing. We don't need more Ouija boards in this world. We don't need giant Ouija boards, that's for sure. I don't think anyone's ever played the Ouija boards that had like a life-size one. But you hear this guy, he's talking about painting putting it on a football field and using his car as the thing. I mean, where do the sickness develop in these people? To be fascinated with this. Oh, I know the answer. It comes from the media's massive pushing of this stuff, paranormal. Oh, it's so cool. Let's summon spirits. Let's summon ghosts, ghost hunters, psychic mediums. Let's speak to the dead. All right? It's a massive indoctrination that's occurred, this fascination with it. And then you have these movies like the Disney movie coming out, Upward or Onward, whatever that turd of a movie's called, where they're even talking about, oh, we can summon the spirit of our dead father. They're normalizing all of this stuff to kids. Now, I'm not saying that's what this guy is doing, but the fact that we live in a world where this is even going on is incredible. Absolutely incredible. The Ouija board in itself has become so popular that they even have a movie, The Ouija Board, a horror bomb, just awful movie, awful plot. But they tell you the truth in this stuff, that demons and spirits can be summoned, and we're going to let's just bring it out. Let's normalize demonic possession. Let's normalize this into our home as a board game, because every parent wants their children to be summoning spirits and being indoctrinated with the occult. But then again, everybody thinks everything's a big joke and nobody takes any of this stuff seriously. And that's why the world is where it is now. That's why and how the falling away has occurred. That's why we live in a world where everyone is doing what thou wilt, of course, except for Christians, because they're not even allowed to speak freely anymore. You aren't even allowed to protest, against Planned Parenthood. It's like a hate crime almost in this country. But, let's spend our time making giant Ouija boards to summon spirits. And then all these people who are like, oh, I'm convinced that spirits are real and the spiritual world is real and all this stuff. The Bible heeds, the Bible is filled with warnings about, invocation, summoning the dead spirits, using mediums, magic, right? And this is all just normal in today's world. It's unbelievable. So this guy is out there and he's putting together this giant Ouija board, taking it to Salem, of course. Where else would it, be fitting enough to go? And people are going to show up and they're going to go, just like they think of everything else. Oh, it's just tongue in cheek. It's just big fun. It's Guinness Book of World Records. It's just normalizing the occult. That's what it is. And that's the problem that I have with all of this stuff. I mean, they're also trying to summon spirits. This article talking about the event that's occurring this weekend says whose spirit will be summoned with the help of the what's being touted as the world's largest Ouija board. It's dubbed Ouijazilla. The fully functional board was created by New Jersey-based tattoo artist Rick Schreck. And on behalf of the state of New Jersey and people who were born there, such as myself, we apologize for this abomination. Rick also serves as the vice president of the Talking Board Historical Society. The colossal wooden board, which can be separated into pieces for easier transportation, was loaded onto a truck to make the trek to Salem, where it's going to make its spirited debut. And you can see the size of this monstrosity. It weighs 9,000 pounds. That's 4.5 tons. 4.5 tons. Whew. I mean, if you got money to be putting this thing together, where's he going to store it after the event? Well, is it probably going to go right underneath the White House, right? Or in the Pentagon somewhere. The board that moves when people place their hands on it, known as the planchet, stretches 15.5 feet and weighs 400 pounds. So you could, my goodness. The board, the guy says, the board that I used actually to replicate is the 1998 board from Hasbro. Who cares? The glow-in-the-dark board is this guy's favorite, he says. And Ouijazilla is big enough to put 2,300 of those boards on top of it. Of course, you can see this guy. He's got the shirt. You can see the satanic sigils on it. You can see the all-seeing eye. But again, remember, we're all crazy. This guy's clearly a Satanist. Right? He's trying to summon your demons or whatever they're trying to do with this giant Ouija board. Of course, people are going to say that we're crazy, kooky Christians because this is just normal human behavior now. This isn't satanic at all. Everyone's just having a good time. Everyone's just walking around oblivious to this stuff that's happening right in front of their faces. It says it took them a year to secretly create this behemoth that will be known as the king of all talking boards. It is by far the largest board in the world, and it will be unleashing to the earth on October 13th, October 12th and 13th. So, of course, October 13th, which is really the beginning of this ritual season. The guy who's built this, he says, just for the paint itself, the black paint, which goes miles, that paint goes forever. It's probably about 20 quarts of paint, of black enamel, and he doesn't even know how many gallons of deck stain disdain the thing. Now, what a surprise that they made this in secret, right? Pretty much everything that these members of the occult do is in secret, but they're bringing it all out into the limelight. And they're just, I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore. If you go through YouTube and you put in a Ouija board, there are trillions of videos. I'm not even kidding. Even if you just put in like Ouija board or Ouija and this go to today, how many people upload videos about the Ouija board? The Ouija board, obviously people who are familiar with demonic possession and spiritual warfare, the Ouija board serves as just that. It serves as a gateway into inviting and invoking spirits for invocations and all this other crap that these Satanists and these witches do. They normalize this stuff in their behavior by creating and making these Ouija boards, which obviously are used in occult practices, and they normalize it and get it into people's home, right? Because they go, look, ooh, it's a spooky board game. And everyone goes, oh, we got to get the Ouija board. And all the stuff you hear that happens, people who are non-believing in any of this stuff suddenly, oh, they feel a spirit or they feel their hand move. Of course, it doesn't mean that, that this stuff works every time. I personally have never used a Ouija board. I always just thought that they were pretty queer, to be honest with you. And that, this is like my whole life I felt that way. I mean, I'm not, not looking to talk to some dead ghost or invoke or bring anything into my home. But people seem to think it's a good idea. And what we're going to have, folks, is the world's largest Ouija board heading to Salem, Mass. Can't make it up. Welcome to 2019. As the world turns or as the world flushes, it continues to flush itself down directly into the pits of hell. And as most of you probably see in the comment section, the classic quote, straight from the pits of hell, well, I think that this pretty much calls for a straight from the pits of hell. I thank you for listening to today's show. What's next? Unbelievable. Whew. Scary out there. Insane times to be living. Really is. God bless all of you and your families.